It's the World Blitz final, and we have a clash of titans, Veselin Topalov versus the one and only Magnus Carlsen. This is going to be electric. We open with a classic Ruy Lopez. Both players are developing their pieces logically, staking their claims in the center. This is a battle on very well-known terrain, and there's the standard setup. Both kings are castled to safety, and we enter the deep, strategic waters of the closed Ruy Lopez. Topalov finds the perfect square, dropping the bishop back to b3. A fantastic move, and the only one that keeps a solid edge for white. The middle game begins with a complex dance. White builds a powerful center with the d4 push, while black reroutes the knights for the coming fight. Carlsen strikes back on the queen side, the pawn pushes to c5 and then c4, undermining white's central control and creating immediate counterplay, and another razor-sharp move from Topalov. The bishop tucks neatly away to c2, once again the only move to maintain his advantage. The maneuvering continues. Knights hop to new outposts, the tension builds, and both players are probing for weaknesses in the enemy camp. And here's the first slight misstep from white. Topalov had a chance to lock down the queen side and keep his advantage, but he misses the best path. The stronger way was pawn to b3, securing the structure. After rook to e8, queen to f3, bishop to d7, and knight to g4, white is still clearly better. But in the game, Topalov plays pawn to a3, an inaccuracy that hands the initiative and the advantage right over to Magnus. With the door opened, Carlsen starts to press. His rook swings to b8, and the white position suddenly feels a lot more uncomfortable. And here comes the magic. Knight to b6 from Magnus. A brilliant, stunning move. He's inviting white to capture a piece on f5. But what's the point? If white plays queen to g4, black continues with bishop takes the knight on f5. After pawn recaptures on f5, the king just steps to h8, and black's attack down the open files is overwhelming. Topalov decides to take a different path, capturing the bishop on e7 with check. And queen takes the knight on e7 is the perfect reply. The only move for black, keeping all the pressure and cementing a clear advantage. Now the focus shifts entirely. Carlsen launches a ferocious kingside pawn storm. The pawns roll to f5, then f4, then g5, completely suffocating white's king. Topalov's king is in trouble, and he knows it. The king starts a desperate walk from f1, hoping to find safety in the center, but the king steps to e2, and that's an inaccuracy. This risky move gives Magnus a golden opportunity to rip open a second front on the queen side, and Carlsen doesn't hesitate for a second. He smashes open the queen side with pawn to b4, and white is forced to capture. The recapture, pawn takes pawn on b4, is the absolute best move, cementing a winning advantage. The point is, if white also takes the pawn on b4, rook takes the pawn on b4, the king moves to f1, but rook to b8 follows, and black is simply winning a pawn with a crushing attack. Topalov plays queen to d2, but this is another mistake. It does nothing to stop black's plans, and now the b-pawn is about to become a monster. And there it is. The pawn marches to b3, a dagger in white's position, supported by a powerful knight landing on d3. The threats are overwhelming. The defensive attempt rook to g1 is just not enough. It's another inaccuracy that fails to deal with the real problems, and black's advantage becomes decisive. Carlsen improves his position with every move, bringing the bishop out to b5 with tempo. White's position is on the brink of collapse, and precision is required, but he misses the best defense. A tougher resistance was rook to e1, then after queen to g7, king to f1, pawn to h5, and bishop to e2. White is still fighting. But instead, the king runs to f1, an inaccuracy which now allows black to win a pawn with a simple tactic. The board erupts into chaos. White desperately tries to generate some kingside counterplay, while black calmly maneuvers for the final blow. A rare slip from Magnus. Bishop to d7 is an inaccuracy, letting a huge part of his advantage disappear. The killer blow was knight takes the pawn on b2. Topalov senses his chance and immediately swings his bishop out to h4, trying to punish the mistake. Black's queen drops back to f7 to defend. And this is the moment. Topalov has a huge opportunity to get back in the game, but he has to see it. The correct move was bishop takes the pawn on b3. After queen to h5, bishop to e7, and then bishop takes the rook on g4, and knight recaptures, white eliminates the monster pawn, and is right back in it. But he misses it. He plays bishop to e2, and the chance is gone. The decisive advantage swings right back to Carlsen. And another inaccuracy from Magnus. In this incredibly complex position, he misses the most precise continuation for a second time. The cleanest win was the stunning knight takes pawn on b2. After rook takes the knight on b2, the other knight recaptures on b2. Queen takes the knight on b2, and rook to a2 follows, and black is completely winning. Instead, he plays knight to c5. It's still a winning move, but it keeps the game complicated. White's king scurries over to g2, desperately trying to find a safe square. Incredible! A third straight inaccuracy from Carlsen, and this one is serious. He gives white a massive chance to save the game. The much stronger move was bishop takes the rook on g4. After knight recaptures on g4, pawn to h5 follows, and after bishop takes the knight on d3, pawn takes knight on g4 simply wins material for black. But in the game, Magnus plays pawn to h5, and this is a huge mistake. It actually allows white to win a piece and turn the tables, and Topalov finds it. Rook to g5 is the perfect move, seizing the opportunity and putting Magnus under extreme pressure. But look at this! Out of nowhere, rook to g8. A second brilliant move from Magnus Carlsen. A stunning rook sacrifice that completely turns the evaluation back in his favor and wins the game on the spot. The sequence is forced. White's bishop must take the knight on d3, and black's knight simply recaptures. After that incredible turn of events, Topalov is lost again, but he could have put up more of a fight. The best defense was knight to e1. After rook takes rook on g5 check, bishop recaptures on g5, pawn to h4, and knight to e3, the position is still messy. Back in the actual game, White's king steps to h1, an inaccuracy that allows black to simplify into a completely won endgame. Carlsen forces the issue with rook takes the rook on g5. White's bishop is forced to recapture on g5. And now, black's bishop snacks on the pawn at h3, exposing the white king completely. The rest is a matter of technique for Carlsen. He's up a pawn, White's king is naked, and the attack continues. A final little slip with king to h7, a product of the Blitz time control, but it doesn't change the outcome. White is lost, but this next move ends the game instantly. The last chance to resist was knight to f1. After bishop takes the knight on f1, queen recaptures on f1, knight takes the pawn on b2, and queen to h3, White can at least play on, but he misses it and plays bishop to h4, a heartbreaking blunder that walks right into a forced game-ending sequence. And that's it. Magnus Carlsen wins. Topalov resigned here. Because after that final blunder, the position is completely hopeless. Here's what he saw. Rook takes the rook on g1, check. The king is forced to recapture on g1. Then, queen to a7 is check. The king must go to h1, and queen to a1 is another check, and White's position completely collapses.